First of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD. I got that.
Calm down. I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective, but an erratic detective is Mickey Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, Gildarie, you deal with that. You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Gildarie, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, good morning, wherever you are from different time zones. You're watching the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon show. This is a program that comes to you live. If you have your smartphone or smart television, please go to Guyanese Critic Facebook page. Please type in TBN Guyana and you'll see there's two and YouTube. If you can't see it live this evening, you could always see it minutes after it's finished or later. This program comes to you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, live 8:30 to 9:30. We have been going for 10 months now, and we thank you for the success. I will let Gildarie do the introduction of the guests because I am leading off, and when Gildarie leads off, he normally speaks about a few things on his mind. So I will do a Gildarie this evening and speak about a few things on my mind. In fact, there is one thing on my mind. Now I'm going to show you something. Ask the operator to bring it up on the screen. There you have it there. I'll ask the operator if he can expand it. Good. It's called Listening to Elvis Costello on Fort Gwang Seawall. That's a column I did on Sunday, July 24, 2022. Let me read the relevant part for you. Boulders for riprap sea defense projects are stored at Fort Gwang. Last week, the men in throwing the boulders with the HIMAC threw some of the boulders on the Fort Gwang jetty and broke the tip of it. I am not referring to the seawall itself, but the little jetty that juts out onto the ocean right in front of the Coast Guard building. The GDF Coast Guard building. That jetty is a historical relic in Guyana and should be treated with utmost respect by the people of this country. It is more than 200 years old. I'll ask our operator to put, if they're hearing me, to put something on the screen now. Operator, can you put a look at what has happened to the jetty? I wrote this thing on July 2022, months ago. They broke the jetty. Now that jetty was 200 years old. Why would anybody want to break a historical monument? That jetty was part of a military institution. Now, even if the men throwing the boulders from the HIMAC, and they don't know that the Spanish was here, they don't know that was a fort, Fort Gwang was a fort. When the authorities read this, my column on July 22nd, all they had to do was ring that jetty so the boulders would jam the ring Now the jetty is being destroyed. Why would anyone in any country want to destroy a historical site 200 years old? Well, most importantly, why the authorities did not prevent this? With that lamentation, I'll hand you over to Leonard Gildarie to interview our guest, and we have a call-in program in which, because of the nature of his job, we will expect you to call in non-stop. I know I have some questions about his job. So over to the evergreen journalist. I read today someone saying journalism, I think it's the chairperson of the Ghana Press Association, journalism is going down in this country. It certainly is. Is it going down, Leonard?
I think what I would say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. As always, it's a pleasure coming to you, and I hope that you remain safe. Freddie Kissoon, I believe that because I think most people look at it as a job now, they want a job and they get into it. It has lowered the quality, talking
Very much so.
And then there's a lot of media house who just came up overnight who believe that's a quick buck to be made. If you want to remain a journalist or a reporter, you have to love the job. I remember doing a job in which I had 4 hats that I was wearing. I was the acting editor, I was a chief journalist, I was a columnist, and I was also doing radio at the Kaito newspaper. And the only way that I could have survived or do it every day, day in and day out, was because I really loved what I was doing. If you don't have that, you could forget it. But I would want to probably echo what that official would have said. I do believe that there's a falling because everybody wants to get the news in. There's not a lot of attention being paid as to whether it's accurate, whether it is legal. I use those things as layman terms there. And so a lot of people open themselves to court matters because of that haste to reach press time.
Leonard, I'm telling you, worldwide, a journalist is a much sought after person, and it's a profession that is held in high esteem in the world. It is just pathetic what it has become in Guyana. But we don't want to take much more of our guest time, and plus he has to answer questions. So the 2 lines are on your screen. Gildarie's WhatsApp and our internal line.
Right. So before we go to the calls, I was in New York 2 times. I went over to New Jersey. This within the last 2 years. And something came to my attention that blew my mind away. I was by this guy, and he was doing work on his driveway with something that looked like bitumen. And he went and he was using a piece of equipment, and he was paving the driveway. And when he finished, he says, let's take a walk or a drive to Home Depot. He's returning the equipment. I said, why are you returning the equipment? He said, well, I just finished the work with the equipment and I don't need it anymore. So I said, you went to buy it and then you return it now? He said, yes. It was only then that I learned that there's a return policy that is maybe spread across the United States. I don't know of any other places, but most places, that if you're not satisfied with a product, that you have you could return it, and there may be a charge to it and so on. In Guyana, I would have seen in stores, you can't return it after. I'd see used tires, you can't return it after 2 days. You could see no return policy, a whole bunch of other stuff. Consumer rights. Consumer rights in Guyana. What are you entitled to? If you have a problem, who could you turn to? Tonight in our studio, ladies and gentlemen, this show has been, as Freddie says, been airing for the last 10 months. And one of the things that he and I decided, Freddie and myself, early on, is that we wanted to use this platform here to educate our people, to build the capacity in our country, to take this country to another level. In our studio this evening, we have somebody who's at the helm of an organization that has to do with consumer affairs. It's a Guyana Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission. It's in Sophia. He's going to tell you a little more about that. He's a director acting, Anil Sukhdeo. I want to say welcome to our studio, Mr. Sukhdeo. And of course, Freddie, of course, has some questions, but I would want to start the ball off right off the bat. What is the commission? What is this commission? Why should the people of Guyana sit up and take notice?
Well, as you would have rightly said, Leonard, their rights, the consumers in Guyana, much like the United States, they do have rights, specifically with what you said earlier there. We do have a return policy, but I'm afraid your friend might have violated that policy. But the stores in the US, big on customer service, would have still accepted the used product. So he did admit that he used the product and then he returned it. But so that's not something essentially that you want to do. So,
No, that's dishonest.
right.
Your
So
friend
he
is a
used it.
dishonest man, Gildarie.
But customer service in the States and developed countries are on the next level. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's dishonest, but the fact that they accepted it, it means it's fine on their end. So we do have return policies in Guyana. We have warranty. These are backed by laws. So we return policies, warranty policies, and a number of other consumer protection articles under the Consumer Affairs Act. So the return policy in Guyana, it's a 7-day return policy. You buy anything, so you as a consumer, you're gonna assume you buy any single durable good, and it extends to services too. So you pay for a service or you buy a good, and the good for whatever reason did not perform. Maybe didn't perform the way it was intended to perform. Maybe you haven't used the product. You bought it and you just kept it there. You change your mind, and you could have a number of other reasons. Maybe it's defective too. So under the laws of Guyana, the Consumer Affairs Act, you can have that good returned and you can be refunded up to 90% of the price that you would have paid. And that's something that's enforced. And anywhere that you might see a no return, no refund sign, it is illegal. It's a criminal act and it can be punished. It's punishable by sentences in jail and fines up to $1 million. So for those suppliers that are operating in Guyana, I urge you to desist from that practice. Consumers, when you go in a store and you see that sign, one, you can report it. Two, I would urge you to think about where you spend your money. The power that you have as a consumer really dictates a lot in the business environment. You shouldn't spend your hard-earned money anywhere that you don't feel supports your rights as a consumer. So when you see those signs, please think of it as a stop sign. Say, no, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna go somewhere else that values my money, because if this product doesn't work the way it's intended, if it's defective, manufacturer's defect, if I want to return it because I don't want to use it anymore, please go to a next store. That's the first way in which you can protect yourself. Now, suppose for whatever reason you don't follow through with that, and there is an issue with the product you would have purchased. What I would ask you to do is you approach the supplier. This is the first. It's usually the first step in any sort of conflict resolution. You speak to the party. The two aggrieved parties would speak to each other. You address the supplier. Say, this is my concern. This is what the law would say. If it's not addressed there, you can come to us and be sure we'll look into that matter for you. And if you've used the product the way it was intended, if you have your receipt, please always collect your receipt. Any store that doesn't offer a receipt, I would suggest not buying there. That's your first step of protection. Know what your rights are and enforce those rights. So you collect your receipts, you collect your documentation, and you bring it to us, and we'll investigate the matter for you.
So we stop there. Freddie, you jump in.
I have so many things to ask you about. I would think one of my achievements as a social activist is I got National Hardware to stop something that I don't know if any other country it was being done. And then I saw this with my own two eyes and objected. Years ago, when you buy National Hardware and you're coming out, the security was looking into your bags, and I said, no, don't do that. Don't. And I wrote several columns about it, and thankfully National Hardware stopped it. Here is the question for you, Anil. I lived in Canada and I didn't see it. It is widespread in Guyana. Please tell me now if it is legal, If it is illegal, I will stop it when it's happening to me from tomorrow. And if they persist, I will call you on your cell. Is it legal for a retailer to ask you for your bill at the exit?
So it's slightly a gray area in Guyana. It's something that we need to investigate a little bit because one, you're on private property, right? They own that property, so they have the right to stop you. Again, we have to look at it to verify it. So they may request of you to stop and examine your the contents on your possession. But it's gray, and I can't say with certainty. So that's something I might defer to. We'll have a little research on it. But I do understand where you're coming
Why
from.
do you have to show someone your bill?
Right.
You buy your stuff. Now, I raised it with Massey. It wasn't happening at Massey. And they told me a guy put a lot of stuff in a cart and pushed it out. Okay, now they're saying if you're pushing out your goods, you have to stop and show your bill. That's security. But I am saying they have now jeopardized your privacy because they couldn't provide their own security. They have to stop somebody putting stuff in a cart and going out. So to stop that, they now are asking you to show you your bill. I see the same at Giftland supermarket. And it obtains elsewhere. Why can't you go in the store, buy your stuff, and come out?
But it's I understand.
Many other stores are like that. I went to Payless Friday. I bought something at Payless in Wellington Street. Bought my stuff and came out.
And you, of course, you weren't stopped.
No. I just bought my stuff and Why is a security at Giftland supermarket and Massey? You have to show the bill. I saw a lady with a cake in her hand, and she put the bill in her denim pocket, and she was trying to get it out like this.
It's really,
that needs to be.
It's really terrible customer service because, as you said, you lived in Canada, right? So that's not something you find in developed countries. So we're on a path of transformation in this country. Right? There are a lot of physical transformations going on, but it's one of my favorite ministers would have said at one point in time, you must couple that with the services too, right? You mustn't only transform the physical infrastructure and those things that you could see. There must come with that a marriage of the transformation in services, and it's really terrible customer service because the businesses should ideally implement their own security measures that hamper you or hinder you the least, and for you to be stopped. This is from a normative perspective, right? This is just me on my opinion on this. For you to be stopped while trying to go about your business, it's really terrible customer service. And again, you ultimately have the power of where you shop, where you choose to shop, and who you spend your money on.
But your commission is derived from the law.
Correct.
I don't think we stated that your position is backed by law.
Correct.
Your position is a semi-autonomous. Which is the ministry under you?
We are under the Ministry of Tourism, Industry, and Commerce. So the law spells out very specific things what a consumer and what a service provider or a supplier can do. So the issue of being stopped is not spelled out there. That's something that we have to look into. But of course, it's a cost as you would have explained it. It is a customer service issue, and to be stopped as you're just.
So it's not in your law.
Not directly. It's not spelled out directly in the act. So we have to adhere to that. And if we go beyond what's spelled out there, we're of course opening ourselves to lawsuits. Right? We have to conduct ourselves according to the rules and the procedures and the relevant sections of the act.
The act. Let me ask you something, Anil. Are you empowered by law to go into a supermarket and say, no, that thing is not edible, you should take it? You have that.
We don't have it for food and drug. So our act is very specific. Food and drug items fall under the jurisdiction of the government Food and Drug Analyst Department. Similarly, just so that I can continue that line of thought, the public Utilities Commission, they're responsible for utility services. So the lines are drawn there between jurisdiction. So the agencies each have a very specific role on what their
Okay, it's not food
but we can.
What about clothes?
The commission can go into any store, any place of business, and we have been doing this. Last year, we've had over 1,000 inspections. It's something that we recently implemented. It wasn't done before, or it was done before on a very small scale. It was actually less than 100 per year. So we've exponentially increased that number to over 1,000. So we go in the stores and we look for these signs. So you have the signs, we look for pricing, and everything's spelled out under the act. So are they giving you receipts? Do they have these no return signs? What is the warranty policy? Is the
no Chinese supermarket, no Chinese store give you receipt?
They do give you. You have to.
I buy a lot of them. I don't see.
You have ask for a receipt at all points, and if they don't, it's illegal to not provide a receipt. And again, we ultimately have the power of where we spend the money that we earn.
No, but you have to enforce the law.
It is.
You have to go to those Chinese supermarkets and say, I am Anil Sukhdeo. I head the Consumer Commission. It's a commission backed by law. I have certain judicial power. I am saying to you, we had complaints you're not giving receipts. Please start to give receipts.
Right. So the 1,000 inspections that we had, the persons, the defaulters, they would have been notified on what the area of default was. Is it that you're not providing a receipt to the consumers? Then if that's the case, we list that down. Here is your notice, and this is what you have to do to correct your the default. And we've seen an increase. People want to comply with the law, and we've seen that number go up. So usually 1 month after, there's a 50 to 60% increase. Persons correct those deficiencies because they want to provide the service. They want to be compliant with the law, and they want you in there as your, as a loyal customer. So there is progress. But the number of businesses, I hope you can imagine the number of businesses in Guyana. We have in the investigative department, we have 4 investigators. Four investigators that handle cases and also handle investigations. So they have targets. They have targets.
Well, what Anil would have said there. Sorry, Mr. Sukhdeo. I don't know what we call you.
It's fine. You can call me Anil.
Would have mirrored. I think sometime back we spoke about the Labor Department, and while they would have, I think it was the Minister of Labor that was here, Mr. Hamilton, and if you look at the number, and this one of the problems we have with regulators in Guyana, is that you have all the laws and everything, but if you can't enforce it, it's very limited.
It means nothing.
Yeah, it really, and then something really irked me there that that came up during the conversation that exchange just now about receipts, and that is a conversation that we have to bring GRA. Do you know how many people pay taxes in Guyana, Freddie Kissoon, and how big tax evasion is in Guyana?
Only state employees pay taxes.
Right. So it's not in Guyana alone. There's a problem worldwide. But guess what? It stares you in the face that the Chinese are some big culprits of it. You go into most of those places, they take your money, you buy two bread, so how is GRA? How is GRA checking to see? But there's another conversation. I want to come back. You said that you would have visited or you made 1,000 inspections. I want to ask you if those inspections were specific to stores or could you give us a kind of idea where you visited?
Right, so we visited all the entirety of all of the geographic regions in Guyana, with the exception of Region 1, because the time had run out on us. But that's the first region that we visited this year. So we were actually in Region 1 and we inspected the store. So it's any brick and mortar store that sells any durable good or service providers, with the exception of the utilities, of course. But I just want to make a comment on the receipts issue. So many times we go into the stores as a consumer and the service provider is going to say, if you don't ask for the receipt, what do they tell you, Leonard? They tell you that you don't have to pay taxes and you can get it at a lower price. Have you never encountered that?
Oh no, it happens.
It happens, right? So we put ourselves in a position too. There, we're complicit in that illicit activity.
No, but that's that's minor. That's
Right.
And that
Right,
minor.
right.
Most
But-
people just don't actually receive. You said food and drugs don't come under your jurisdiction. Corrugated, besmirched clothes selling in a store come under your jurisdiction.
Yeah, the clothes do come under.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. I don't mean anything personal about Mr. Bipak, who owns Giftland. I know him, we talk. They would have something called a warehouse sale. And I don't know if Mr. Bipak is aware of what they sell there. Those things should be given to the palms and the dharamshala, or bed sheets that are stained, towels, blinds. These things are at Giftland warehouse sale, and you go in there when you say, why are these things not given to the poor institution that serve the poor? You got to take a. Please keep in touch with when Giftland has a warehouse sale and see the kind of clothes those people sell. Even the refugees wouldn't wear them.
Director, I want to bring you straight, and those are very good points that Freddie has raised, except I disagree with him. Let's don't disrespect the palms and the damn salad like that.
Okay, but those things don't mean those things.
Yeah, it means that it's safer. But coming back, the commission would have received a lot of complaints. What could you give us a number last year, and what were the majority of the complaints coming from?
So,
I have a follow-up question.
Right. The numbers for last year, we would have received, I believe, just over 400 complaints, and that's the highest. It's not the highest, but that's a significant number of complaints. That's almost more than one complaint per day, right? If you look at it, it actually the leading categories are it's consumer electronics. And it's easy to see why consumer electronics is the leading category. Would you like to make a hazard a guess, Freddie, why it's the leading?
Poor standard, I know it is.
Not necessarily. It's a frequency in which you buy consumer electronics. You buy it more than any other type of goods. So automobiles, right?
Young generation, yeah.
Phones and so on.
Phones, televisions, the little music boxes, whatever you use there as a form of entertainment, watches, whatever it is. So that's
don't describe that, please. Freddie Kissoon, Mango Pelto.
Is this allowed to be sold?
I'm at a loss for words. There's nothing wrong with that phone, in my opinion.
Okay.
It serves a very specific function. It's durable. It has the minimal functions, and it sells at a good price. I imagine that's where you have it. The battery life, I imagine, is stupendous. Maybe 4 or 5 days without needing to be recharged.
No, man, no. This Mango Pelta has to be recharged often, but
right. So coming back to the category, so it's consumer electronics because of the frequency in which people consume and purchase those. The second leading category that we have this year, so far for this year, it's the automobile industry.
I was about to come to that.
Right. So we're focusing on that.
What do people complain about here?
So it's a number. The vehicles, most of the vehicles are used vehicles. So even though you might inspect it, you might inspect it thoroughly. So it could be any number of issues. Any number of it could be something with the engine, the brake. It's usually the transmission. It's usually something internal that you won't necessarily diagnose when you're looking and when you're examining the vehicle, and that's understood. So you buy it. You do your physical inspections, and afterwards, the problem develops. What you didn't know about it, what can you do?
But do you have any rights because of used vehicles?
Yes, you still do have rights because you have rights to expect uninterrupted service or a level of service from that. So while it's used, it's in a condition to be sold and
you have to get reasonable use of
reasonable use. And if the supplier knows that it can't be used, it's a recondition and can be used due to some mechanical failure, then they shouldn't be selling it. They should rectify that issue before they sell it to the consumer.
That's an interesting area.
How could your work be effective with just 4 enforcers.
It's we're not.
I'd like to have the minister here. We have called her.
We've had a number of changes over the years. Leadership changes. We've essentially restarted the commission, and we're getting a lot of support from our minister and our ministry. We've been maybe 2 years, 3 years into the administration, and I am certain that those requests that we submitted to the ministry, maybe next year, the other year, they'll be fulfilled.
No, it's got to be much more than 4. This is 83,000 square miles, 10 regions.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We have
all over the West. Just in region 4, you will need about 20.
That's fine. But the system of budgeting that we have in Guyana, the national system of budgeting, it's called an incremental budgeting system. It's what we've employed since we've been here. So
I got a question for you. I'm really sorry, but this thing's sticking
right.
in my head.
Go ahead.
Freddie, you would have heard about this. We have a couple of auto dealers in Guyana that are mercenaries. I make no bones about that, no apologies. They go, they hire strong, armed men to go repossess vehicle. I want to ask you, I understand that the government has passed the hire purchase bill.
Right.
I got a couple of questions. Does it fall under the commission? 1. 2, if you paid 3/4 of the money and you just gonna have some money remaining, could they come take that away from you just by making a few demand or one demand or whatever it is? I need some clarity. What is the situation on the ground? What rights do people got? I hear too much complaint, but this auto and that auto dealer doing this and that, and they're more. I understand it's business, but there has to be some reasonableness, and it has to be within the law.
So I'm glad you brought it up, because our ministry, our minister, spearheaded the hire purchase bill in Parliament, and it provides phenomenal protection to consumers of automobiles. So 1, they cannot repossess your vehicle outright if you pay more than 70% of the total cost. They have to notify you, plus they have to go to the court to get an order to repossess that vehicle. So you're protected in that way. Secondly, it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction as a commission. Redress, though, redress can be sought by the magistrates' courts. So there is protection there, and go ahead.
There are so many wrongs in modern civilized society. Do you know what you have just said there about hire purchase? We should be glad that the legislation came in. But do you know insurance companies are more rapacious in that respect? Let me tell you what happened to me and my wife. When I was living in Hatchery Street, we insured our building $500,000 in fire. After a while, we checked that we had paid $1 million in premiums. And if anything happened to our building, we'd only get $500,000. So I went into the insurance company and said, look, we insured for $500,000 and we paid you almost $1 million. Could there be some changes? Could we get back something? They said no, and we stopped the insurance right there and then. How could you pay an insurance company $1 million? And if your building is on fire, they pay you $500,000.
That's
the law has to correct that.
No, but
just about the correct.
That's the business model of insurance worldwide, right? It's based on a pool of consumers there that purchase a service. So while you mightn't have encountered an issue, be sure that there are others that your premiums would have been transferred to, because their house might have burned down, and because it's a business also, they're not going to operate without profit. They need to make some profit. So you are a risk-averse.
It's the same capacity with hire purchase.
So you're a risk-averse person. You take off your lights, you take off your stove, you leave your house. Your house is insured, but you still want to be safe. You still want to have that knowledge. If anything were to happen to your to your home, it would be secured. So you would have eventually paid more than what you would have gotten back. But that's the business model.
The problem that I have with that,
I think the law should change. It should reduce your premium, or just occasionally give you a little lump sum.
Well, I can say for my health insurance, I pay into a health insurance. Life insurance. So I can actually withdraw from that life insurance premiums that I would have paid. and they would keep maybe I think 2 months premium, but I can withdraw any amount of premiums that I pay. I'm not sure if it's the same of well, obviously, evidently, in your case, it's not the same for fire insurance, but for life insurance, that's been my experience. So I get back my premiums if I ask for it.
We probably have
We
to
have
go.
we have an open line
Yeah.
to speak to Mr.
Just
Anderson.
before we go to the line, there's one thing, and I think Freddie, we'd have to bring them in because I'm not sure whether this falls under your jurisdiction. Has the commission received complaints about the insurance company not honoring or let me don't put it that way, complaints about the insurance companies
They don't like to pay.
don't pay? I don't want to say honor the
They
obligation
give you a
because it
hassle
puts
to
onus
pay.
on them.
Right. We haven't received any of those complaints. But if they are, feel free to reach out to us. Maybe there's something in the contract that you would have signed. We'll need to take a look at that to see what terms you signed on to. So it's not cut and dry to say, oh, this should happen or that should happen.
Right, right.
So we need to look at those terms and conditions that's within the contract.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our lines are open now. We did. Let us make those calls pertinent to our guest here. He is the Director Acting of the Consumers Affairs Commission, and it's a regulatory body, and he is going to take calls pertaining to if you've had experiences regarding to you went into a store. Let's try to keep it very short and sweet so you could be able to answer those questions. And also, if you're overseas or you're in Guyana, you want to WhatsApp call us, it is 637-1071.
But the WhatsApp callers don't have a problem
Right.
in Guyana.
So there's a call coming in right now. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening to everybody.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I would like to make a complaint, right? About purchasing.
About what?
I purchased something. Hello?
Yes, go right ahead. Make a point.
This is the Gildarie show, right?
Yes.
Yeah, here now. I buy a brand new motorbike. $200,000. And when I bring it home, within a week, or let's say in a month, I get 4 complaints, 4 problems with the motorbike. I went back to the dealer when I get the first 2 problems. And the man behaved in a bad manner. And just because he behaved in a bad manner, I may want to go more exchange with word with he. I left the place and I complained.
All right, so what I would recommend there, you actually took the first step that I recommended. You try to seek redress from the supplier. In your instance, that didn't work out. What you could do is you can submit a complaint to us, and we can take it, handle it for you, so you don't have to interact with that supplier anymore.
Yeah, but I want to make one good point. He look after one of the complaints because he sent me to a mechanic, right? And he look after one of it. But 3, it left just like that.
What are so and is it that you want those 3 issues addressed?
Yes, because the problem is one is the gear light is not working properly. The gauge for the fuel tank is not working.
All right, so here's what I recommend before you continue. I recommend that you contact us. Let me give you our phone numbers, our website, all our contact information, so you can get us on 219.
Wait, take this number, please.
All right, so it's
hello,
219 4410
219 4410.
Right. So
Anybody specific mama
just 104 is the extension to get onto the complaints department.
104 is it.
Right.
Well,
Call us first thing in the morning, and we'll take a look at your case.
But can I ask for anybody or just call?
No, you just call and say that you're there. You would like to submit a complaint, and the office will walk you through it. Because the extension 104 is for complaints.
Your website needs to be.
The website
is on. The construction for the longest while.
No, it's functioning. It's functioning. We do updates frequently because we have a lot of advocacy materials that we upload.
Yeah.
Thank you, caller. So
okay.
You have the information? Yeah.
Thank you for coming through.
All right,
and
so
those are the kind of calls that we want to have pertinent to the topic. Yes.
So I'll just repeat the information, our contact information. Our website is ccac.gov.gy. Our contact number is 219-4410. or 44102 4413. So it's 101112 and 13, extension 104, and that will take you to our consumer affairs representative who will take your complaints. Of course, you can also find us on Facebook. And Freddie, again, our website, it's perfect. You can also submit complaints online, so you don't need to necessarily call us. If you prefer to submit your complaints online, you can do that via our website, which is functioning. Then you can also visit us in person at the Sophia Exhibition Center. So whatever method you prefer to use, whatever interface, we're there. We want to be as accessible as possible to people.
There's a caller on the line. Caller, good evening. Hello.
Hi, good evening, and hi, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Anil.
Hi.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right. I want to disagree with some of Freddie's point of view about why don't you give away this and give away that. That thing can become a little bit infectious. Anil, who would have lived in North America for some time, or still lives in North America, knows that. And another thing about, am I there? Because
no, go ahead, make a point.
Yeah. And Leonardo has spoken about the Home Depot thing. I know the individual. He knows that I know the individual. And it's something that we all capitalize on in the US here. You pick up something from the Home Depot, you use it and take it back. And it's something I will not subscribe to anymore. I mean, I'm guilty of it. And I totally disagree with it because we are, oh man.
I got to tell you some other story, but I hear what you're saying. Thank you very much for that.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. So if you're coming through, it's 231-2982, and you could also WhatsApp call 637.
I want to tell that caller what France did. France passed legislation. Those fashion houses used to burn their stuff after the season,
right? Because
and France said no, you can't do that. You have to give it away.
All right, there's a call coming. Caller, good evening.
Good evening. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Go right ahead.
I would just like to make a complaint. Good night, Freddie panel.
Yes.
I would just like to make a complaint. Yes, the complaint is about. I've seen a lot of people selling in the market without a label, without a seal board. And this is a disgrace because the government of the day is promoting that we have to do business in the right way, in the right manner, meaning that we have to get labels and do what we have to do in a sanitized condition. And there are people who are doing the product and not having the seal because of these things. People are buying these things and they are not knowing what they are eating because this is not properly sanitized. I don't know what can be done about the matter. They're just calling to just verify or to ask a question because Mr. Freddie Kissoon is putting most of his program. I listen to you and Gildarie is that you're promoting the local business.
Thank you very much for that. All right, so
within the right.
Our director will have an answer to that.
So again, I'm assuming based on what he said, it's food and drug. Food. Again, it doesn't fall under right. But I would presume and go so far as to say maybe again, when you support these activities, you're only encouraging persons to do that. I'm sure that if you were to visit a stall at the mall, there are vendors that are very hygienic. They have their stuff in a case. They're using gloves. It's not you're painting everybody with one brush or stroke. They're persons who are offenders,
right,
and persons who do what's required of them, because it's your health now. You're talking about food and what you consume. I wouldn't recommend anyone. I personally wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't recommend you to go to a unhygienic food place where you see things that you don't agree with, and then you go and purchase that. And if you were to get sick, you'd blame the person. Well, yes, the person is to blame, but you're also should be a bit more considerate about things that you consume. Yes, the person is at fault without doubt, but we have to be cognizant of our actions. We have a personal responsibility to ourselves.
But I think as an extension to that, director, is that people should also know that they could call the other regulator, which is the Food and Drugs Analyst Department, and they are available with regards to the food. Thank you very much. Good evening, caller. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Yeah, hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, hi. Gildarie and yes, I'm Freddie. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to ask your guest what he added that customer service here in North America is it's at another level because, for instance, I was able to return a mattress after 10 months at Walmart, because they have their return policy. Yeah. Similarly, I was able to return a water pick from Walmart after using it for 11 months, and I even had to return a humidifier after 3 months. I used it at Canadian Tire. So, the return policy here is,
But so
on a different level.
But so you sure you didn't abuse that return policy?
It's
or
probably
you just sleep in a mattress and then return it.
It's probably 1 year if I recall correctly. Is it that the return policy is 1 year?
Yes, it is. But I was able because we had to. What happened? We're moving the mattress from upstairs to the middle flat, and it got torn in the stairway. So we returned it, and we said it was defective, and they were able to return it. No hassle, no trouble. And like the caller said before, it's something I don't want to say capitalize on it, but it's there.
Can I ask you something, sir? You listening?
Go ahead, Freddie. Yes, I'm listening.
When you buy your stuff and you're walking out, is there a security at the exit looking at your bill?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much for coming through.
Except for Costco, that U.S. company is also here in Canada. They do check your bill in Costco.
Yes, I remember. I went to Costco. I think about 2 years back we went into Costco, and I know I remember that the security was very particular about what you were taking, and they were actually checking the items by items according to the receipt that you had. I remember that. Thank you very much for coming through.
They still do that at Costco. Yes.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
through.
you.
Have a good night, all folks who tuned in from Toronto there, and of course North America, wherever you are. Good evening. There's another call coming through there. Let's go right ahead. Good evening, caller.
I want to ask Freddie and the panel, what is wrong with some security asking for your receipt when you're purchasing something, regardless of which store it is? Okay, I am living in Queens. The Home Depot next to me never used to have a security. Never used to have a security. The dimension has changed because of the culture of people that are living there. And if you go into Valley Street, no security is there. So isn't that telling us something?
Well, I would say that it goes back to the fact that it's private property, right? You're there, you're shopping. It's your so whatever policies when you enter that place, you subscribe to those policies, providing that they're not a violation of your basic human rights. So you're right. It's contextual. It's contextual. So if there's no need, if there's theft, maybe if there's a serious issue with theft that's persistent and they don't.
I mean, I just came back from Connecticut yesterday, visiting the Home Depot in Connecticut. There was no security.
Oh, let me tell you.
No security.
I think Anil.
As soon as you get back to Queens, there's massive police security. Isn't that telling us something? Come on now, man. We need to stop sinking our heads in the sand and accept the fact of the truth.
And the truth is, I just want to be sure that I hear you.
Yeah.
And the truth is,
what's the truth? What's the truth?
The truth is, we have dishonest people in certain sectors of Queens and New York.
But then Anil raised a point earlier, and I agree, I take your point. However, what Anil raised earlier is something that I would also subscribe to. If I go into a store or a supermarket and I find that their practice, their in-house practice, goes against my grain, me in shopping there anymore. It's a matter of choice. So it comes back. I understand that store taking the policy of saying that I would check the bag because we have had experiences of people shoplifting, pushing the trolley through the thing and bypassing the cashier.
Leonard, I'm totally in line with you on that. But if there was not a cultural practice of people being dishonest, that would not happen.
Well, I have one solution to that, and this is me personally, Gildarie. If I find that your practice is discrimination to me in shopping by you anymore, and Freddie feels the same way, and I say to you, Freddie, if you believe that's the people's own practice.
But how is it discriminating if somebody asks you to see a receipt?
I don't have to show it to you. I don't want to show it to you.
You asked me the question.
Yes.
Anil said it's private property. There is no such thing as the sanctity of private property. If on private property you murder someone, you're going to jail or you'll be executed. So there's no absolute immunity of behavior in private property. So even if you're on private property, a citizen is entitled to protection by the law on private property. But as the question in the bill, I don't see the logic of it. Is one, you go to a store, you buy your thing, you should have the privacy of walking out without someone stopping. The bill is your property. Why should I show somebody my bill? I am looking at the constitutional right to privacy. That is why I objected in my column to the man peeping into people's bag. If a man buy panties, why should a security look into his bag to see a male buying panties? You have a right to your privacy. That bill is legally your property. And the reason why it continues is because people aren't protesting it.
So when you enter a business, right?
Okay, take away that policy. Take away that policy. Let it be known to the public, and especially Queens where I live, and the Home Depot closed on tomorrow.
It's an interesting. I think as the director says, contextual.
Anil cannot deny that.
So there's also the invitation to treat. When you enter there, right? Again, I'm bringing back this point. You enter under certain conditions. You're not going in there. You don't have absolute rights. Your rights. You agree to enter the store, and these are the policies. You know the policies.
No, that is not backed by law. Once you enter any private property, your constitutional right kick in.
Right.
Your constitution. No. Private property.
I'm not disputing.
You cannot enter private property. They have conditions that conflict with privacy.
Right. But if you go down that line of argument, if you enter certain residential private property in the States, your right to live can be contested.
No, but that's a different thing. Right. That's a domestic household.
Mm-hmm.
A supermarket is not a domestic household. No, but you said
there are no absolutes.
All right, we got to move on. We have other callers, and we do thank you very much. Sir, thank you very much for coming through. You've raised some good points. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
It appears like where he's living, people steal from the...
And that's a valid reason to implement security measures. If the theft is so...
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, how are you?
Pretty good, sir. Go right ahead.
Sir, this is nip it in the bud.
Thank you. Nip it in the bud.
One Guyana.
Yes.
I would like to get some advice. I'm doing this grain seasoning bit.
Before you do that, you need to lower the volume of what you're listening to.
So the thing is consumer protection, right? The question has to nip it in the bud. The issue is consumer protection.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So yes, you have a question about consumer protection?
To Mr. Anil Sukhdeo. He's the enforcer of the consumer laws.
Okay, sir. I I would like to get an advice how to go about promoting the business and thing. You know, I mean, I'm just
No, there's not. There's not, Mr. Sukhdeo here.
All right, thank you for coming through. But if you want, I think the Small Business Bureau and maybe the Ministry of
so definitely
Ministry of Commerce, and so they could advise you. On that.
So the Small Business Bureau, they have programs, devices.
We'd have to invite them, right? Thank you very much for that. Small Business Bureau, they're on La Peniton Street. There next.
No, they moved from there.
They moved from there.
I don't know.
They're on they're just around La Penitence where the Guyana National Printers is. It's right in that same building there.
Guyana Printers.
Yeah, where the Guyana National Printers, La Penitence the Market.
La Penitence.
Right in that area there. And you go to them and they have help that goes to help you market.
If there's no caller on the line, I'd like to say something.
Sure. Thank you very much for coming through, caller. Bye bye. Yeah, Freddie.
Once you're offering a service to the public, you come under certain laws. You can't say it is my supermarket. It's different when a person cannot walk on your lawn in your yard. That's private property. That person in his house and her house is not offering a service to the public. So the two cannot be.
But so the laws in the states, when you enter that, the policies that they have do not necessarily transcend or infringe upon your personal or constitutional rights. They don't necessarily.
It's a gray area. It's going to be debated, hotly debated on both sides. How do you handle it?
So if I may, Leonard, let's take more consumer complaints.
Yes,
because,
I agree with you. It's a people's call.
We want to reach the people. Right?
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good.
Now that you have here, the guy down there.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I went in and just a shop at Marseille, back of Movie Town. Hi, good evening. Are you listening, mate, now?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, I went in at Marseille, back of Movie Town. And I did a purchase. While it's coming out from the building, they have a guard there, want to see your bill. Right?
Yes, go right ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I told the guard that want to see my bill, if you want to know what I buy, you go and ask the cashier, I'm not showing you this bill. This bill is mine. Right? And I noticed one, two places that is happening. Even if when you go to Giftland, also they take your bill and they clip it on the bag. Which should not be done. When you purchase, they shouldn't be taking your bill and advertising it all over the place. I think what is happening in this country is a total lawlessness. Because, for instance, you apply for a gun, you get a gun license, you buy a firearm. And you go to a show, or you go into any government places, you can't walk with your gun, you have to left it somewhere. Isn't that going to protect, that gun is there to protect yourself? Why is it that you have to lodge a gun here and there? It doesn't make sense.
No, we're getting away from the issues that we're here to discuss. So I can't speak to the firearm matter.
No, I'm just making a reference that the law in this country, nobody don't think about the law, and the law is not working in this country.
I think we might have lost him there.
No, he went off.
Okay.
He's probably yeah, you could probably respond to him.
So yeah, I'm not going to respond to the firearm issue.
No, that's out here.
Yes.
Well, let's take a next call.
Okay. 231-2982. Our topic. Okay, we have somebody overseas. Let's get those local calls in. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
With regards to the consumer protection policy and the store policy, shouldn't the stores be posting a policy where it's visible at eye level for every customer who walks in would be able to read it?
Right.
That's decide for any weight, and decide if they want to conform to that.
Right, and that's
be a good idea, sir?
that is usually the standard, because right before you enter Movie Town, there is at the gate there is a sign that says these are the policies. It's usually no loitering and among other things. It's right before you enter the property.
Right.
So when you see that, these are the policies. This is what we. So I'm not going to go there and loiter. I'm not going to. I don't know the rest. I don't recall the rest, but it's there. It's very visible, but we mightn't see it because we have a certain. I think you call it. The proper word is a blindness So there are things that we usually kind of overlook because of the rush or and the need to go where we're headed. But it's usually there if we're aware, and it's visible. It's right at the entrance.
Anil, what you're talking about there is trespassing policy, right?
So
I'm talking about
right.
consumer policy, buying requires to return and not conditions they
Right,
want
so-
it back in. Say for example, a simple case. I bought a shirt today at the bay. Came home, it's a little tight. But I have to leave the tag on, not just the price tag, but the manufacturer's label on it before they would take it from me. I'll be able to return it. Because the last time I had heck doing that. You know, like those things should be there, right?
Those are usually there. So the problem with the mall operators is that you have independent mall independent
concession holders.
right. You have independent concession holders, and they do usually have those policies in place. If it's visible, that's something that we need to verify via inspections, which we're currently doing. But by law, they are required to have those policies in place. So return policies are in place, refunds are in place. And this comes back to something that one of the callers said earlier. It's, you wouldn't need an enforcement body if everybody followed the law. You wouldn't need, we have bad actors in society, so that's why we need laws and we need enforcers.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you very much for coming through, caller, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye. Good evening, caller. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
I wanted to know if Guyana as a consumers association is active.
What's the question? We're not
He
getting you
wants to know
clear.
Guyana as a consumer association.
That's active.
And if it's active.
Yes, that it is active. I was on a program with Dr. Yog Mahadio maybe a few days back in observance of World Consumer
They
Rights
have a
Day.
Guyana Consumer Association.
There
Since
is
Eileen Cox.
Mr. Pat Dayal was the head. Eileen Cox was an advocate in partnership with him. And but it's maybe I'm not sure how active it is, but it is there.
No, hold a sec. There was a Guyana Consumer Association when I was young, and one of the most active person, although
Was
she
Eileen Cox.
physically,
Right.
was Eileen Cox. Since then, I don't. We're talking about more than 20 years ago. I don't know. There's a
There is.
Where is it located? Who are its chief operators? What are its numbers? There is
So it's a voluntary organization, right? And the challenge is what I believe would have been stated is that
So who's the head of this
younger,
body? You
I
would
believe
know
Dr. Mehadi is spearheading some aspect of it.
What's
but
the name of the body?
It's
The Guyana Consumers Association.
Yes, that's the name of the body. And Mr. Pat Dayal, he's
I know
still
he was been
active.
active,
He's still
exactly.
active in it.
Yeah.
What do you mean by active?
He
We
writes.
don't ha-
He organizes events. He writes in the. He spreads information
Hello?
in the paper.
I am still here.
Yes,
Yes.
go right ahead.
Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah,
I
so there
sidetracked a
is.
little, man.
Yeah, yes, there is.
Go right ahead.
It may be a name only, man. I mean,
No,
I
so
haven't seen
my-
anything. You know about
I
that?
assume that you.
I haven't heard anything about it,
No.
and that's news to me. My apologies about that. I didn't hear anything.
I know Pat Dial writes a monthly column or something about that, but we nowhere near to the Eileen Cox physiology.
Right.
Right.
It's a voluntary
Yeah.
organization. Many of the stalwarts that would have started it, they're
To
God
answer the
rest their
caller
soul.
there, yeah. To answer the caller there, just before we go, to answer the caller there is just we have no. I mean, Anil would tell you differently that he is aware that there, at least Dr. Yog Mahadio, who seems to be representing that organization. I personally have not seen anything much coming out of the organization. Maybe I missed the memo, but it is what it is. But it means that the public out there also, by extension, they're not seeing too much of that. But in the absence of the commission back in its days, the Consumers Association would have been the go-to place. But,
Yeah, Miss Eileen Cox was very, very active.
A small lady, very
Yeah,
small
yeah,
in stature,
and had
but she was a
physi-
big mouth, had a big
yeah,
mouth.
yeah. And she went to
stood up.
places.
Right, and she caused some waves back again. 231-2982. And let's get those calls coming in 637-1071. You're calling us, let us know about your concerns.
You don't want to resuscitate the Consumer Association?
You're asking me, Freddie Kissoon? Okay. 637-1071. Let's get those calls coming in. We want to talk about consumer fears in Guyana today. What is irking you? What are your experiences? What would you like to see? Back to I had another experience in North America too, which seems to be having some ripple effects. A guy bought a printer, another guy, and he decided to take it back a few months. I said, "Why are you taking it back?" He says, "There's a newer one in the market." And so I said, "Are you telling them that?" He said, "No, I'm telling them that it's not working. I don't like it." I said, "You don't like it?" I said, "Yes, I don't feel comfortable with it. It's just not, I don't want it anymore." They took it back and got a new one. It's not going to happen in Guyana probably, but I'm just telling you what happened.
I think some of those things can't happen in Guyana simply because of the cost of production, the smallness of the business unit, what have you.
You have some valid, those are some very valid points.
Yeah. But in America also, what you have happened in there, because the competition is so thin, the customer service is
there you go. So they operate and compete.
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening to you, gentlemen.
Yes.
And good evening also to your guests.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm calling concerning now I'm a stallholder. I've made several clients call before.
Yes.
Now, I think the GNBS is doing a reasonably good service. I know whatever I'm going to say here now probably might not be in this gentleman's, Mr. Anil, department, but the thing is, as a stallholder, GNBS comes, they check our scales, they check on stuff that you're not supposed to sell and so on. And I can remember one time I seized my scale not because it was out of weight, but because I didn't stamp it on time, and quite rightly, no problem with that. But on the pavement, these guys, they did say, £2 onion for so much and so much, and you get £1.25. And nobody does anything about that. Nobody sees those people's scales. And especially this issue with this mosquito coil that is not supposed to be selling on the market, they put it in the paper, pesticides and so on. We can't sell it, and I see selling it a very long time ago since they put that you can't sell it. But it's plain in sight of everyone that those things are in front of everyone, that those same mosquito coils are for sale. And all the customers want those mosquito coils because they say it works, which I explained to a lot of customers. I said, you know what, the GNBS stopped the thing from selling it because
it's carcinogenic, right? It causes cancer, I believe.
The problem...
it's toxic, right?
Right.
And so... But why is it that those people still have it and nobody doing anything about it?
Because what you're hitting the nail on the head there with is that we don't have the capacity, and it's not only the directors' organization, the commission, but almost every organization, regulatory and otherwise, that we have in Guyana, lack the capacity to monitor and to regulate. We don't have it. And that's what we need to improve.
Well,
I know, but I mean, like, you can't be targeting one set of people, and then it's unfair because the customer come, hey man, how are you selling these things for day?
Right. So, caller, I wouldn't necessarily agree with Leonard's comment. It's not always a lack of capacity. Some organization, they're well staffed. It's that you have these bad actors. So the coils, I assume, are blocked at the ports. Right. So they don't come through the ports. So
but I can tell you, right? I can tell you what happened. These guys, they're afraid to trouble these people because they know they're gonna kick dog some big war. You know what I mean? We will stay quiet and so on. With regards to some other calls that I heard, I mean, like, I travel to the States a lot and so on too, and with Freddie, I can stay with the part with showing the bills. I know at DJs and so on where they go, they ask to see a bill before you leave and so on. Sometimes I don't agree with it, but I think maybe a lot of these people do it because of the people pick up stuff and hide and, you know, like shoplifters and so on. And so maybe they just want to verify that, well, you know, you think, well, yes, the privacy is
But
it's
let me
supposed
let
to
me
be
come
there,
back
you know.
to
But
GNBS. GNBS has been doing a phenomenal job. So rightly, they're in the market. They do their inspection. They stamp your scales. They seize goods that are not up to standard. But so while you're there in the market every day, I assume GNBS is not. So we rely on persons that see these activities occurring. We rely
It
on
is the
them
public's
to
responsibility.
to inform us of what's happening. So it's just not. It's sometimes we don't know. Then the bad actors, they're
no,
trying.
this as I'm telling what is outside on the paves and so on is
Right, but
it's
GNBS
been blatant. I can understand. Yeah, I agree. I must say, I can remember the days when we had to go and stamp the scale at the license office in my street, and you used to got a long lines and so on, and it's very whatever. So I mean, yes, I must commend the GNBS for coming to the different markets and assist, you know. And so I must say, I commend. I think the GNBS have been doing a better job, and they've been improving a lot. And I agree that the manpower and so on might be a little difficult. I do understand, but I just bring the forum that this is something that, you know, we need to have, you know, I mean, be fair with, you know.
All right, thank you very much for coming through. They call valid points, and we hear you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you guys have a very good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Yes.
Hi, Freddie Kissoon.
Yes, you want to the show. Go right ahead.
Okay, I heard a guy earlier talking about the Home Depot issue. I don't think he traveled a lot. Is every Home Depot in Europe, they have security. So if he wanna bring no Guyanese, because the Guyanese community, he wanna say Guyanese going and stealing. It's not.
No, I don't think anybody said that. I think what they're saying is, I think it's a contextual in a sense. I can't recall anybody.
Yeah, but he was saying he
But there was a subtle reference,
right?
Because he used the word Queens.
I have a construction
and
company
there's a lot of
in
guys
Europe,
using
and I
Queens.
go to all over. I travel all over Europe, and there's security all over, man. Trust me.
Yes, I got you. Well, I'm glad that you raised that. I'm glad that you were protecting the Guyanese people because we have some bad eggs, some bad actors, I would say. Well, I agree with you. Thank you very much. Yeah, God bless. Good evening, caller.
Hey, good evening.
Yes.
Yes, I asked the question earlier about the consumers of fear, and I find it strange, I find it unbelievable that you say it's a voluntary organization.
It's a civil society organization. You have voluntary organization, then you have one that's funded by the government that enforces the act, and then you have on the other side of the spectrum one that you can join, and you can, that's how these organizations work. You have something that's of interest to you, you join it, and you pursue it with a group of other persons.
My question is regarding the businesses that are opening in recently. Someone just want to open a business and they have no training in consumers of fear, how to deal with the public, who is a customer, what is a customer. And I had some really bad experiences going to food shops and stores and so on, and the way that the people deal with you.
Well, you're talking one thing they call consumer rights. Is there a nexus between consumer rights and customer service?
Well, they're not in law, but there is.
Right.
Not in our law, but there is. I mean, good customer service should essentially be part of your rights. You enter a business, it's not just a shop, it's an experience. You don't necessarily go to shop. So when I go to, let's say I go to one of the bigger supermarkets, I don't go there just to shop. I go for the experience, I go for the comfort, I go for the atmosphere. I can take my child. He doesn't have to be, sit in the trolley. He can jump up on the side. So it's more, so customer service transcends just purchasing items. And you go for the staff too. I mean, it's lovely to see you have staff trained, smiling.
Freddie, you've been very quiet.
No,
your thoughts, Your thoughts.
Let the call. I've always believed the caller should have.
All right. Go ahead, caller.
Right. So.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'm still here. So I want to share an experience I had with a food shop on Garnet Street recently.
Well,
not-
Mr. Sukhdeo not, that's not his jurisdiction. Food and drugs. That's not his jurisdiction. He won't be able to comment on that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for coming through there, Carter.
He said close is part of his jurisdiction.
Close.
Durable items.
So
don't see those clothes at all.
Just to get you back up to speed, Mr. Sukhdeo is the director of the Competition Consumers Affairs Commission.
With serious legal jurisdiction.
Yes. They have been receiving a lot of complaints, electronics, that people buy bikes, people buy cars, and then they may be clothes. There's another thing that I heard: 2 people rent clothes, or they buy clothes and then take it back next day after the wedding is finished.
In Guyana?
No, oopsies. Freddie Kissoon, I have some stories, some things I don't want to talk about, Freddie. But it is, I'm not saying that should be the standard for Guyana. I'm just telling you what happens, but in Guyana, because Guyana is not the manufacturer of this item. So there's going to be a huge cost for those retailers who are selling those items to have those kind of policies of return policies. It might not just be practical. It can be economic suicide. Good evening, Carlo. Hello? Yes, go right ahead.
Are you hearing me or are you?
Yeah,
you go right ahead. We're listening to you. Make a point.
Come on,
okay, you're actually on live right now?
Yes, you're live. You're live.
We're hearing you and you're hearing us.
Okay, that's fine. No, I just wanted to express a little bit of I've got a channel and I've been in retail for a long time. That's irrelevant. I just want to express a little bit of disappointment in the Guyanese people in general. It's just that the country is finally getting to a place where I think it's going in a progressive direction. Everybody's complaining about something or the other. They can't wait for stuff to take a natural course. Nothing gets created. Society, the advanced society has been created overnight. It took time. Nobody wants to wait. That's all I want to say, right?
Well, let me ask a question before Freddie jumps in there. Do you believe that the Guyanese... I'm going to talk about my Guyanese people. Do you believe that after going through so much over the years and we want a better country, do you believe it's a natural thing that we could agitate for better Guyana, and if that being we could agitate for better service, better customer service? Is it wrong?
Gary, there's nothing wrong with wanting a better Guyana. I want a better Guyana too. I waited 58 years to see this kind of progress. I'm proud of where Guyana is going. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's the process or the gripe that's there that makes me a little bit cringe. I know Guyanese. Trust me, I'm older than you, and I know Guyanese. I've seen where Indian, Chinese, and Black live like they were sisters, right? So I've seen that. So I know, a bit of what it is. But the thing is, Guyanese have a tendency of they want everything all at once. They don't want it if you give them, they seem to want it all at once. They don't have this restraint to.
I think that's
too much. You're damping the nation with a wide brush.
Yeah.
Anyway, sir.
All right, but thank you. But we hear what you're saying there, though. Thank you very much for coming through.
All right.
Interesting. It's in the meantime, while we come in on to a close, Mr. Sukhdeo.
We go until 10
Yeah. We have like about 10 minutes more. Let's have those calls coming in. We're gonna have Mr. Anil coming through at the end, and he's gonna give us, his take, and maybe you'd want to make a pitch to the people of Guyana as to how they could utilize the consumer commission.
If there's a call coming, I'll give way to the call. But I wanted to ask: is there a call?
Yeah,
Yes,
there's a
there
caller.
is. Yes, there
Thank
is.
you very much. Good evening, caller.
Yes, I just want to say I'm not aware of the policies in Guyana, but consumers need to be aware of their rights. I think that is true. Also, I understand businesses have policies, but consumers also have rights. Now, I don't think business policy should trump consumers' rights. I don't know what are the laws in Guyana. I mean, if someone is suspected of, say, shoplifting, for example, they should be detained and checked to make sure did they shoplift, and then they can be prosecuted. You can't assume that someone is shoplifting. There's no proof. Only if there's proof, then you can detain that person and prosecute them. That's my take on the whole issue. Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming through. It is always going to be a very hotly debated topic about those receipts and about the security check into a bag, and of course you have the right to.
Well, I think the check-in. Yeah. I think since since National Hardware was exposed about that, I don't think anywhere in Guyana they check your bags when you're leaving anymore. I think that era is over. But you do have.
I got to come back to the massive because when I go into there, I think you might be wrong.
About what?
About them checking your bags. I got to check.
No, they don't check
good
no
evening,
bags. No,
good evening, caller.
That's finished with. They don't check.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, panel. I just want to add to some of what the callers would have had. First of all, let me commend the panel for this program because it's something that is very, very important. In this first start with disagreement, I just heard a caller calling from the U.S. and some of these people, I want to be very frank and clear, when they live in developed country, they forget that they have left Guyana, and some of the methods and culture they have adopted in those countries. You bring them back here, they go back to the same place again. Let me don't take up your time with that. My suggestion here with consumer and this program and the whole thing about consumer affairs, I would like to see consumer and the bureau have something that they can come together, if not merge, but they can come together to better represent the people, because when they operate by themselves, they're restricted because Mr. Anil would have said that clear. They're restricted, but if the consumer and the bureau would have come together in certain areas, then I think they would have do a better job, better representation for Guyanese.
Well, let me respond to you. I have some very good news for you. GNBS, Small Business Bureau, a number of other regulatory agencies, we're all under the Ministry of Tourism, and we do work together. We do work together a lot. Most of the activities that we have, GNBS is either on board with us physically or they support us via resources. So it's recently we've begun these collaborations, so you'll be seeing a lot more of that.
Great. That's good news to me. And well, Gildarie, if you can arrange.
Hello?
Yes, if Gildarie can arrange a program where we can have you again, Anil, with the bureau. It's gonna be good for Guyanese, the consumer, that they can interact. Well, not all the call was good, but most of your call on the program was very good. And I think, we need this again because we are growing, we are expanding, we are moving from one level to a next level. And because of this, we must educate our consumers. Like the thing Freddie is calling about the bill. I agree with him. If we're moving Guyana, then we're not moving backward, we're moving forward. If we're moving forward, the consumer should not pay for your deficiency. You set up security system because the man or the woman would have already fall down. I would have cussed them out then and smear up the cake on the whole place. Because it's wrong, right?
All right. Well, thank you very much today for coming through, and of course, we address some of the issues. Thank you very much. Freddie, I think we get it. Go ahead.
I just want to say, no security searches are bad. The only place that was doing that about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was National Hardware. I don't know of any place, any retail outlet searching your bags. That has stopped. Only National Hardware used to do that.
So what do they do? They take the receipt and they tick it off one by one what you have in the bag?
No. They just want to see the receipt.
I think that they validate. It's essentially a form of validation. Like you validate parking when you go. Like they just validate it there.
I'm gonna check it back.
Check what back?
No, I'm gonna go in and I want to physically see.
If you buy stuff at Massey,
right? I want to see what they do.
Giftland. Strangely enough, it's not done at DSL, which is one of the large supermarkets right at the corner. It's not done at Coscotta, which is in Regent Street, which is in Sheriff Street. I know it was done at John Lewis. My daughter and I went in there, and when we were leaving, they wanted to see the bill, and I said no, you can't see the bill, and they talked to the owner and we let it go. I just think it grates your nerves that you walk into a store, you buy your thing and you walk out. Let the store provide security cameras to see if anybody.
I agree. You know why I agree with you there, Freddie, in the particular. While we're not fully there yet, there are many stores. I think you would have been in Canada recently. They're making stores now where there are no cashiers. You go in with a card, you pick up the items, you just swipe it, and I think the card. When you enter, I think you swipe the card. And they just check out the items based on the card that you would have had there. There's no cashier, but they would have to cater, and I think this is a point I want to make. Those stores cater that there's going to be 1-2 clients who are going to come in there. But imagine the kind of experience of a person goes to pick up 3 items out of there in 2 minutes.
Right. So Walmart has mostly self-checkout lanes. They do account. Within their business strategy, they don't know that there is some amount of theft.
But it's part of the.
It's part of that, loss. Right? So they accept that loss because it's part of their cost. They make the decision. Is it more costly to implement other measures?
Or to have good customer service?
Right. So they do accept the loss and they still implement self-checkout there.
And maybe there's a... But listen, I think, Freddie, because we're coming down to time, and I would want to say something, and of course, Mr. Sukhdeo would want to say something.
Yeah, 3 minutes. I'll point you just 3 minutes.
So, I would want to say this, right? I would want to say in my closing, it is a very good program that we would have had here to talk about consumer protection, consumer rights, and what the kind of protection that the law gives you. The thing is, in Guyana, I've always said this since the beginning of the program, and this has been what my preaching is. If you want to take this country to the next step, you got to start understanding where you are, understanding your rights, and demand those rights to be that you need to be protected according to those rights. That being said, I would want to say what I said to that caller not so long ago. There's nothing wrong in Freddie Kissoon and myself or anybody in Guyana to demand that we go to the next standard, to the next level in making this country. I'm not sure I really subscribe to other countries, but let us raise it to a level where we could all be proud to be Guyanese, that everybody should not be discriminated against, and that customer service could be raised to a level. So you're going to have some accepted laws because of theft. But don't let it be in such a situation. Don't let it be a situation that you put systems in place that is going to erode the kind of customer satisfaction when they walk into the store. When they leave there, they're going to say, you know what, I went into Pixels or I went into Giftland and it was so lovely. I want to go there and shop. Some experiences are just not worth it, and you got to accept those laws. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll close by saying you have a choice as a consumer. I want you to exercise that choice. So the service you're provided, you're paying for it. And businesses in Guyana, they do compete. They're going to compete more than on a product level. They also compete on a service level. Of course, we have our laws in place. The laws are there to protect your rights, but you also, at the same time, have some responsibilities. To familiarize yourself with that, I'd urge you to go visit us at our website, ccsu.gov.gy. We've been doing phenomenal work thanks to our minister, our ministry, our sister agencies. To know your rights, again, just check us out at ccsu.gov.gy. Freddie, I'll just turn it over to you for any closing.
Well, just briefly, thanks for coming here. I don't think we should live with 4 enforcers at your commission. That has to be almost triple. It's a large country, it's an important oil economy, and there's a deluge. There are mountains of investment going on in this place, and there are retail businesses opening all over. You can't have a consumer commission with just 4 enforcers. It's a contradiction in terms.
So let me respond to that. There are plans. Our ministry has, our minister, our board. We have plans to expand. It's just currently that's what we have. So there are plans in place. Don't need to worry. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there quite sure.
A work in progress.
Yes.
Let me close by saying, if the guy wants to see my bill, I'm going to call you and say come over right away. And
please call me. You're
gonna come with your
we'll have a discourse on the issue of the bill.
Discourse is good.
And this is you said not food. You said not food and drugs, but this commodity.
It's yes.
Shall I buy another one?
This would
like
make
this?
a law for you not to have a phone like that.
Should there be a law?
There's nothing wrong
should
with
there
that
be a law
phone.
banning this?
No, what is wrong with the phone? There's
No. What's wrong with him having a phone like that? It's because the guy is so old-fashioned and so in the rock ages that he can't do modern work because he doesn't have a WhatsApp, he doesn't have a Facebook, he just have his email. How is he going to communicate? Many persons have. It's only Freddie Kissoon.
No, I've seen other persons with them.
Alright, that was kidding you, man. But you're old, right? You're old-fashioned. Alright, Freddie Kissoon, your closing statement. Start give.
No, I'll give way to him.
Well, I close. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully I can be present once more. We'll see how we can work with that with Freddie and Gildarie. So next time we tune in, have your concerns. If you have any concerns, we'll listen to those. And in the interim, if you believe your rights were infringed upon, again, please call us at 219-4410. Thank you.
Thank you.